All right, let's talk a little bit about the game itself. Bengals and Jets. Last I looked, Cincinnati 6.5-point favorites in the game. Public's all over Cincinnati here in this one. Some cause for concern as it relates to that. I mean, the Jets are just, I've said this throughout the week, of course, but just a total disaster, total dumpster fire. We don't know who the starter is at this point. My gut says it's going to be Justin Fields. We played the soundbite yesterday on the show of Aaron Glenn just completely embarrassing himself. We will have a quarterback out there. We will have a quarterback. You think so, Aaron? You think so? Just ridiculous how he handled that situation. Am I going to sit here and say you need to name a starter at this day and age of the NFL? I don't know. I don't know if I'm there yet, but just the way he handled it, saying that there will be a quarterback out there, yeah, real funny there, Aaron. You haven't won a game. Try winning a football game before you're going to, come to the podium and spew that nonsense out of your mouth. But every way you look at this, everything, every matchup, all the way down to the coaching staff, the home field advantage, the Cincinnati Bengals should win this game. And there's no guarantees in life, really, and there's no guarantees in this league either. But it's really hard to sit here, even as if I try to take my, bias cap off and sit here and look at this game and try to convince myself that the Jets are going to beat the Bengals. I just can't do it, right? I just can't do it, especially on the heels of what they've been doing offensively. All right, Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, their two best players, have not practiced all week. They're probably not going to play. Right, and that's a secondary even with Sauce Gardner. That's not very good. And you got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and a 40-year-old quarterback that's playing with immense confidence in the game. So really, when you break it down, passing attack, running attack, defense, we'll get to that in a second, coaching, all the advantages are in Cincinnati's favor. And, honestly, it kind of feels like it should be like a 7.5-point spread instead of 6.5. I'm staying away, by the way, this game. Best bets of the weekend. I'll be there, just going to enjoy its rights. But Cincinnati should win this game. And mind you, if they lose this game, the sky is completely falling. Right? I know it's a week-to-week league, but, as good as last Thursday was, it's going to be equally as bad, probably even more bad than how good that victory was on Thursday. Just a complete disaster if you lose to this Jets team. They're bad. They are really, really bad. But you got to show up and you got to be ready to play. So let's go through some keys to victory here on the show. And key to victory number one is very easy and very simple. Don't play down to the level of competition. We've seen that something with this team in the past, even with Joe Burrow as the quarterback, by the way. We certainly saw it with the Cincinnati Reds here this past season as well. You are better than this team. I get you've got issues. I get you're on your third quarterback. I get you have a defense that's awful. You are significantly better than this New York Jets team, right? And this is kind of one of those games where it's like, you know what, I'm always a big, if you win the toss, defer, we'll take it in the second half. I think that's 9 times out of 10 the right thing to do. But in this situation, it might be like, you know what, give us the ball. Give us the ball, and we're going to go down and get 6 right away and set the tone from the jump. That might be kind of the decision I lean towards here at this point. Right, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're messing around with the Jets. Right now, look, it's the NFL. I'm not going to be surprised if they're in a dogfight in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left. It won't surprise me at all. Right, but you should start out quickly in this game, build off the momentum that you have over the past couple of weeks, protect the football, be disciplined, avoid the penalties, and if you do all those things right, you're going to win the game. You have more talent than the opposition. Can't play down to your level of competition. Key to victory number one. Key to victory number two. Keep feeding your big dogs, right? 1 and 5. Get them the ball early and often, right? Joe Flacco threw the ball, 23 times? 23 targets for Jamar Chase on Thursday. Just an absurd number. Do it again, right? And keep doing it. Because there ain't nobody in this league that can stop it, right? Target them as much as you can. And if they want to double them, that's fine. Go to T. Oh, they're doubling both of them? Well, what happened in the Pittsburgh game when they doubled Jamar and they doubled T? I think Pittsburgh only did that once, and that's when they hit the seam shot to Yoshi. Huge catch, great throw. Play of the game, you could argue. Feed 1 and 5, right? They don't, especially if Sauce isn't going to play, they do not have the guys there on the outside to hang with them. They don't. And, Jake Browning tried to do that, but then he was kind of, people talk about in the National Football League, well, give it so your receiver has a chance, but the defender doesn't. Put it in a spot where only your receiver has an opportunity to make a play. Jake Browning wasn't doing that. Sometimes he was giving his receiver to make a play, given a chance to make a play, but he also was giving the DB a really good chance to have an interception there as well. Joe Flacco hasn't done that. Needs to continue that. Not be reckless, right? I just talked about getting out to a fast start, but you don't got to force it early. If it ain't there, throw it away, right? Just if you don't do anything just completely stupid in this game, you're going to win. But it's like you give up a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown, or you throw a couple of interceptions, you fumble the football, have a ton of penalties, bunch of holding calls, personal foul. Like, that's what's going to take for you to lose this game. If you just play clean, play discipline, play smart, you're going to win. But you should feed 1 and 5 throughout the duration of this game as well. Keep the run game going, right? It's a team that the run game, and didn't even talk about it really this past week. The running game was the worst in the NFL, right? Up until halftime of the Green Bay game. But, I think that's one takeaway from the Pittsburgh game that not enough people are talking about. Yeah, Flacco was sensational. Yeah, Jamar was sensational. Yeah, it was a shootout. It was a great game. But you had some ability to run the football, right? And if you have ability to run the football with this offense, it completely opens up a whole new avenue of how you can get yards and score points. And especially when Burrow comes back. I mean, if you're running the ball when Joe Burrow comes back, look out, right? But build off that in the run game. Again, we talk about the defense. Doesn't need to be a top 10 defense. Just be middle of the road. Be average. This run game doesn't need to be a top 10 run game. Just be middle of the road. Be average, right? And then you're going to have success out on the football field. It's not a run game that needs to be top of the world. Just average defense, just average, and your passing attack will lift you over the top and put you in a position where you can beat teams that you should beat and have an opportunity to beat teams that are even better than you and that are difficult opponents, top teams in the league. Keep the run game going. Chase Brown, really pleased with what we saw from him. We saw the carries be a little bit more split. I like that, by the way. Nothing against Chase Brown. When Joe Burrow is the quarterback of this team again, Chase Brown will take that next step. I'm sold on that. He 100% will. But at this point, with the offensive line, the changes that you've made, you're dealing with a lot of contact at and behind the line of scrimmage. And, P. Ryan's a little bit more better equipped to deal with that than Chase Brown. And Chase Brown is a guy that you remember throughout the end of the year last year, and really from the halfway point on, or even before that, really, when Zach Moss got hurt a few weeks in, where he was out there for basically all the plays and all the downs, and he was running a lot and getting hit a lot. Running backs, when you have seasons like that, sometimes the following year, it's difficult to, be at your best, right? Look at Saquon Barkley right now in Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley is a top 2 running back in the league, either him or McCaffrey, whoever you want to pick, it's fine. And he had, the best year a running back really has ever had, as far as I'm concerned, last year. But Philly's really struggling to run the ball, and he's struggling a little bit because the workload last year was immense. The hits he took were immense. So I have no issues with, getting P. Ryan in there a little bit more. P. Ryan's a great pass blocker there as well. He's done a tremendous job in pass pro, particularly on third down. It's been great. And keep running the football. Keep having a shot to run the football. And, it's so good now when you watch this team because I'm not going to say it feels the same when Joe Burrow is out there. I'm not going to get carried away here. But the thing about Burrow is when it's third down, you're like, okay, all right, let's go get it, right? Let's go get the first down. Don't care if it's 3rd and 15. Feel pretty good about us having a chance to get this. Jake Browning, if it was anything more than 3rd and 2, you're like, yeah, send Rico out there, work the leg a little bit more, see if he shanks it or hits a good one or boots it through the end zone, right? That didn't feel like that against Pittsburgh, and it didn't feel like that in the second half against Green Bay. It's like, 3rd and 7 with Flacco? Yeah, I'll probably get that. And, part of the reason you have that confidence is because you have the running game on earlier downs where you can pick up some positive yards, and it's a lot more third and manageable, right? A lot more third and manageable. You feel good about Flacco and third and manageable, but shoot, 3rd and 12, I feel pretty good with Flacco right now there as well. It's an opportunity to potentially get right on defense. That's key to victory number 4, get right on defense. Look, the defense is really, really bad. I've said it before on the show. I'm an eye test guy. The numbers, they're impactful. They matter. I probably should do a little bit more with numbers going forward, but I'm a big eye test guy, and my eyes told me that the defense was better this year than it was last year. The numbers say otherwise. The numbers say it's even worse, which is really hard to wrap your head around. Well, if you're this bad as a defense against the worst team in the National Football League, worst offense probably, in the National Football League as well, it's really time to sound the alarms. So, if you find yourself where you're getting in a shootout with the Jets, yeah, you feel good if you win it. And you're like, well, we can, have an opportunity to win every time we step out on the field. But, you got 2 games with Baltimore where Lamar probably is going to be back. That's an issue. Baltimore always scores points in bunches against you. You're facing some solid offenses at different points throughout the rest of the year. Even, next week with the Jets. Caleb Williams has been struggling, but Ben Johnson's putting them in incredible spots. So, need to get right as a defense. You got to, I think the issue, the biggest cause for concern last week, was not just that Aaron Rodgers was having a spectacular game. He's Aaron Rodgers. I get he's 41 years old, but, he's going to do that. And I tried to tell people that, by the way, on the show when Pittsburgh got him. Like, they're going to be good offensively with Aaron Rodgers if he can stay healthy. But the Pittsburgh team couldn't run. Right, and they ran all over you last week with Jaylen Warren. So that's where, my biggest concern was with this defense. Again, be average, be middle of the road. You have to at least have a strength, whether you're stopping the run or stopping the pass. They weren't stopping either last week, and that was a major, major concern. So we'll see if they can get right at all. They forced a couple of turnovers. That's ultimately what won them the game against Pittsburgh. New York's going to give you opportunities to do that, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields. And, we'll see if Cincinnati is able to execute. But I would like to see some punts in this game. You don't want to be a defense that's so reliant on turnovers because that's not a formula that you can lean on consistently to win football games. There's some games where you're not going to be able to force any turnovers. And if you're a decent defense, you're still going to be able to stay alive in those games. I want to see a lot of punts forced in this game from this Bengals defense. And my final key to victory here is someone else step up. Right? We know what 1 can do, and we know what 5 can do, and shoot, dare I say, we know what 16 can do at this point for Cincinnati. And, we talked about it all the time, and we know what 91 can do. But we talked about it I remember having this conversation a couple of weeks ago, actually, when I was hosting Off the Bench, where it's like, who's that guy where it's like, okay, we drafted this guy, he's been here for a little bit, or maybe, he's a rookie, and it's like, okay, that's a foundational piece that we can build upon. And when we had the conversation on Off the Bench a few weeks ago, it was nobody. Well, now it's number 20, DJ Turner. Right now, I get it. It's 2 weeks. He's got to continue to build and show that consistency. He's looked like prime Deion Sanders these past 2 weeks. That's not going to continue, but he could potentially be a lockdown number 1 type corner. So he has kind of risen to the occasion. I've been a big believer in Dax Hill. I back Dax Hill. I trust Dax Hill. Some people out there don't. All right, but give me another name. Somebody else that's like, okay, you know what? He could be a guy going forward. You're playing the Jets. You're not going to get a more favorable matchup. All right? Is it, Joseph Osai? He's had some good moments. I've been hard on him. I don't think he's an answer for the future. He's on the 1-year prove-it deal. I think he's gone next year. I wouldn't have brought him back this year. Maybe he steps up, has a big game. We've been waiting for Myles Murphy. I don't think that's going to come, right, to be honest. But maybe he steps up. Maybe one of the rookie linebackers who are out there and they're starting and it's like, okay, but maybe they're like, oh, yeah, that's a guy for us that we can build around, right? I talked about Cedric Johnson. We'll see if he's active, by the way. Most people kind of forget about Cedric Johnson. He was your 6th-round pick last year, and I was excited when the Bengals took him. He's kind of undersized, but he's got some athleticism. He can get to the quarterback, something obviously Cincinnati really struggles with. And he's been out with the calf. Was on, I think he was on IR. And now he's been practicing throughout the week. We'll see if he's active, but he could potentially provide a spark. I was expecting / hoping he would get more PT last year than he did. He didn't. But I've got that could be a guy, Cedric Johnson. Keep your eye on him as a guy that potentially could step up for Cincinnati. And then there's other positions there as well. Jordan Battle, right? I mean, he's got 3 picks. The Green Bay game, he was bad. One of the reasons you lost the game. But he's had some good games this year. Need some more consistency out of him. But can you look at him and be like, okay, we can roll with him as a safety at that spot? And real quick, just kind of a side thought here. We'll do mock drafts and stuff. I don't like doing them until, the Bengals are eliminated, right? Some people do them throughout the course of the year. I saw one, though, that had Caleb Downs falling to Cincinnati. Talking about a guy that could completely change your defense immediately. Yeah, that's Caleb Downs. And you take Geno Stone out and put Caleb Downs in there, that'd be awesome. Now, I don't think he's going to fall far enough. Caleb Downs is, in my opinion, the best player in the country. If he falls outside the top 8, I think that's crazy in Cincinnati. Hopefully, he doesn't have a top 8 pick. But I did see that and wanted to bring that up. Caleb Downs in Cincinnati, woo-hoo-hoo, that would be certainly very exciting. But someone else needs to step up, right? Maybe it's an offensive lineman, that has a game. The offensive line played their best game this past week. Zach said he's not going to tell you who the starter is. Fairchild's been getting the reps. fair, but it's like you had something here that was working. I kind of would stick with it. I think Fairchild's going to be a fine player for you. I think he could be a starter, a potential guy down the road that gets his second contract here in Cincinnati. But what you had last week was great. I don't know if you should mess with it. With Reisner and Rivers, who would have thought, right? We spent all the time this offseason going, yeah, who the guard's going to be? Yeah, it's the guy that you signed right before the Cleveland game week 1 and your 5th-round pick, not your 3rd-round pick. But we'll see. I think interesting. If you go with Rivers and Fairchild, I don't know. Reisner was good. Reisner was really good in the game against Pittsburgh. I would keep him out there, but we'll see. Lucas Patrick, by the way, is back as well. He's got some versatility. He could potentially back up Ted Karras at center there as well, but somebody needs to step up. I want to leave this game going, oh, that guy had a really good game. He showed me something, and he hasn't necessarily showed me something to this point. And I don't want it to be Trey Anderson. I don't want it to be T. Higgins. I don't want it to be Jamar, and I don't want it to be Flacco. I hope all those guys have good games, but I want somebody else that hasn't necessarily stepped up or proven they're a really good player in the NFL that could potentially be a foundational guy with a favorable matchup against a bad football team. I want to see somebody do that. That is my final key to victory. Don't play down the level of competition. Feed 1 and 5. Keep the run game going. Get right on defense. And somebody else besides one of your studs step up in this game.